Hi guys, George here, and today I'm going to bring to you a video that was inspired by watching another video. So typically I watch a couple of videos, TIK, History of Stalingrad, and more recently they did North Africa. And even if these videos are old, sometimes I watch them again. And Military History Visualized. He's an excellent German history scholar, history of World War II. He debunks a lot of myths, um, shows a lot of infographics, and it's really enjoyable to watch. And for a history buff, they're really awesome videos. And the latest video that I saw was about the PIAT. I thought it was going to be a compare between the PIAT and the Panzerfaust, but it was mostly, or if not exclusively, about the PIAT. And I got to appreciate how effective the PIAT was. And having played a lot of scenarios, well, quite a few scenarios involving the Canadians and the British and the Commonwealth forces, let me tell you, I would, provided the armor are not King Tigers, and even if they are, I'll take an attempt to immobilize them, get a hull hit and add 5 to the hit roll. I'll do that. That's how crazy I am. Given medium-sized tanks, I would rather have a PIAT than a bazooka. That's just me. That's just me. Interesting factoid about the PIAT and squad leaders. There's a depression, or by you cannot a depression restriction where you cannot fire it at a lower level. Charlie 13.61, a PIAT cannot be fired at a target one or more levels lower in the same or adjacent hex. Oh well. They're saying that the spigot would, or the projectile will just fall out. Wow. I've never actually fired either one. My training was on the 90mm recoilless rifle a long time ago, many moons ago, and I think it was the 105 or 125. I don't forget. Didn't use it much, luckily. Anywho, so that's what the video is going to be about, and then I'm just going to do some quick and easy examples, and we'll take it from there. So going off of Wikipedia, just a side-by-side compare. Check this out. PIAT was in service since 1943 up to 1971, and the Panzerfaust is listed as being used or in service from 1943 up to 1945, inclusive in the Greek Civil War, but I guess some of them got captured by the partisans. But the Greek Civil War didn't end until 1947, if my memory serves me correctly. Type action, spring action. So basically, in the PIAT, you got to cock it back, and then there's a spigot and fires off the mortar. It's like a mortar, actually, and there's a little stand where you can. The British, according to the Military Visualization History Channel, the one expert showed how there's a front like a unipod where you extend it and you can fire it at an angle and use it as a mortar. Didn't know that. So there's a recoil action on the PIAT, whereas on the Panzerfaust it's recoilless. And the thing about recoilless rifles, to the best of my knowledge, is that you gotta be careful of your comrades behind you, because the whole idea of a recoilless rifle or a recoilless weapon is whatever explosive power there is, instead of causing a recoil, it is spewed out from the rear, and there's a cone of flame that comes out. According to our training, anything 100 meters behind you would stand a chance of being burnt alive because of the projectiles fire. Number of built, 115,000, whereas the Panzerfaust was to the tune of 8.2 million, inclusive of all the variants. So there were various variants, and in the game, the variants are there. So I'm going to turn off my video capture because I want you guys to see the entire table. Here you go. Mass 15 kilograms versus 6.2 kilograms for the Panzerfaust. So I guess that's the weapon alone. Carrying 32 pounds, and it's probably a team of 3 people. One is the person that is actually pulling the trigger. There's probably a team leader that is doing the sighting, and then probably another fellow that stands behind the 2 individuals, either as a loader or carrying a rifle to protect the team. So carrying 15 kilograms versus 6.25, that's a big consideration. But keep in mind that the Panzerfaust, once it's used, it's depleted, whereas the PIAT is reloadable. Length, nearly a meter for the PIAT, but exactly a meter or 3 feet 3 inches for the Panzerfaust. Effective range for the PIAT, 105 meters. I calculated that roughly to be 2.5 hexes. Fractions rounded up would be 3. Whereas the Panzerfaust is 60 meters or 200 feet. That would be 1.5 hexes. Fractions rounded up would be 2, which is exactly the range in Advanced Squad Leader. 2 hexes. A hex in squad leader represents 40 meters in length, I suppose, from hex side to hex side. Yeah. Max firing range 350 yards or 320 meters. So how accurate is that in squad leader? I'm not too sure. Whereas the Panzerfaust would be 30 to 150 meters, depending on the actual model. Sights, there's an aperture sight for a PIAT. Now, in any gun sight, when you are targeting it, there is in a sight a rangefinder. There's a means of finding the range, and there's also a means of firing where the target is supposed to arrive at. Now, forget the vocabulary word. There's a specific vocabulary word of that characterizes the act of firing ahead of a moving target as opposed to on the moving target. And usually there's some sort of indicator, and you estimate the speed and you fire ahead, and then when the projectile is released, it reaches your target where it's supposed to be as opposed to where it was. And according to Wikipedia, all the Panzerfaust has is a crude aiming sight. And the closest I ever got to that was playing Battlefield, the early version of Battlefield that focused on World War II, not World War I or any of the other modern warfare stuff. The original Battlefield that came out decades ago was World War II, and there was also a mod, I forget the mod's name, in this case, I think it was Heart of Darkness or something to that effect, that really added realism to, in realism in terms of the graphics being more in tune with the camouflage and the uniforms of World War II as opposed to more boxy graphics. An amazing game. But nothing close to Squad Leader. Squad Leader is a board game. A video game and a board game are two different animals. Filing. Well, oh, I don't know what that filing stands for, but a shape charge for that is detonated upon impact, and the same thing with Panzerfaust. So let's see this following slide. Let's see how these two weapons are represented in Advanced Squad Leader. All right, the counter. For the PIAT, a half-inch counter exists, and we'll show you that in a minute. However, in Panzerfaust, you got to roll for it. So it's assumed based on the date of the scenario, I believe. Based on the date of the scenario, Germans begin to have Panzerfausts, but it's provided, I guess, on a random basis. In COI and Squad Leader, we actually, so COI is Cross of Iron, and where is that? Here and here. So in Squad Leader, and Cross of Iron, they actually had a counter for the Panzerfaust. And in COI, they actually introduced the Panzer Schreck, which was a marvel to have if you were playing the Germans. Number built, ask M&P. That's an inside joke on mine. Not an inside joke, but an outside joke. It's a joke just the same. Ask M&P. I think, how many counters have been printed of PIATs? I've seen collections that scale entire 8-foot walls. So you can imagine if one individual has an 8-foot wall full of, it probably exceed the actual number that were built, number of counters. Where do I get that from? So to kill, I know a minuscule 15 to kill for the PIAT, whereas the Panzerfaust, I believe, is 31 to kill. Now you can use both weapons against infantry if they are situated in buildings, and the infantry equivalency is 8 firepower factors at a max of a B turned into a P somewhere, or P turned into a B. 8 firepower factors at a max of 3 hexes for the PIAT, whereas for a Panzerfaust, you do a Panzerfaust check, you see your enemies in a building, and you instantly get a 16 firepower attack, which is great. Breaks down, PIAT breaks down on a 10, but repairs on a 2, and it's eliminated, I believe, on a 12. And Panzerfaust, 2 hit, 12, 2 kill, 12. You got a breakdown dud. And that is further reduced to an 11 if it's conscript that's firing it. Let's see, do I have any more slides? No, I don't. So with that, let's go to our board. Now, let's do 2 quick examples. Might be a short video, but it's a video just the same. So for the PIAT, you do have your range and your 2-hit number on the back of the counter, right there. So typically what I do is either I note it on paper or flip one over, put it on the side of the board, just so I know what is my 2-hit number. Let's say we are firing during the prep fire phase, and this guy stopped. He's at a hex a range of 1, 2, 3 hexes. You cross index, that makes it a 5. He's an ordinary size target, but you can use the leadership DRM, leadership modifier, to make it a 6. So let's roll it and see. 6. And ideally you want to hit the turret because the turret is a lower factor. Keep in mind that the 2 kill number is a 15. So let's roll on the 2-hit table. 2-hit there. I need a 6, I got an 8. So that is a miss. I did not roll a 10, so I can probably use it again. However, if this fellow was not 2 hexes away, but moreover was 1 hex away, that would have been a hull hit. So in order to kill that AFE, I would have to roll a 15 or less minus 8 armor factors. So 15 minus 8 is a 7, which is an average roll. Let's try that out. 2 hit. No, well, I should have done 2 kill. I rolled a 6. So I need a 7. So this fellow is done. But he does get crew survival because I didn't roll less than or equal to half the to kill number. So he's not a burning wreck, and we look at crew survival, roll a 2d6, see if I get a 6 or less. Nope, and he's a wreck. So let's move on to the Panzerfaust. Now, there's one factor I didn't have to add in my 2-hit rule, and that's backblast, because there's no backblast for the PIAT. However, this fellow is about to be overrun by a T-34. He is in a building, but you know, Russian soldiers, they don't care about bogging down their armored fighting vehicle. They simply are given marching orders. Berlin, it's in the west. Head west, you can't miss. We outnumber them 10-1. Keep on going. Not one step back. You know, oops, what is that? Should have turned back on my video. Here I am. Hi guys and ladies. So we got Lieutenant Tripper there, and he wants to, of course, go back to Berlin in one piece. So let's see what we have to do. What we have to do is roll for a Panzerfaust, and a 1, 2, or 3. In simple terms, the squad can get a Panzerfaust. So I roll a 1d6, 1, 2, 3, 6. That ain't good. That ain't good. Now, that is the simple example. Let's take a look at the rule book. And you got to look at, let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, table Charlie 13.3, Panzerfaust. So, October 43 and on, X PFK available August 43 by SSR only. German MMC, single man counter can roll for it. Romanian non-crew MMC as of March 44. Hungarians, so we're looking at the Axis Elite from June 44 on, non-crew MMC. And from July 1944 on, the Finnish Elite first line MMC can roll for a Panzerfaust during any friendly fire phase. Panzerfaust, Panzer FK, German, equal to the number. So now you're also told how much Panzerfausts the German player has, depending on the date, and the number of squads in squad equivalents in your OB, and it's fractions rounded down. So pre-1944, it's 1.5 times the number of squad equivalents, fractions rounded down. Don't forget that a half squad is a half squad, so 2 half squads makes a 1 squad equivalent, and 4 leaders make it is a squad equivalent. So don't sell yourself short. It's squad equivalents, not MMCs. All right, and 2 times the number of squad equivalents in 1945. Interesting. And then they go on to tell you how much. So you got to keep a tab of how many Panzerfausts you have expended, because the German player may conceivably run out of Panzerfausts depending on the size of his OB. Then checking for availability, and we're going to just do the Germans here. Less than or equal to 3, 6, that unit was pinned. So the unit under Lieutenant Tripper, because I rolled a 6, is actually pinned. Just like that. And checking for a Panzerfaust, you can check for 2, counts as use of a support weapon. Let's go back to the rulebook, or the chart rather. Original 6DR pins the fire, even heroic berserk or even heroic berserk or breaks fire already pinned. Ahaha. So casually reduces pinned heroic berserk fire. PFK check modifiers. So if it's pre-1945, date is 1945, you subtract 1, and you can go through them. So if you're CX, you add 1, half squad, add 1. SMC is 2. So basically, for an SMC, they have to roll a 1 to get a Panzerfaust. That's not good. And now the range is, depending on the date of the scenario, is anywhere between 1 to 3. So from January 1945 on, the range increases. But typically, most scenarios are against Germans that are 1944 on. It's 2 hexes away. So what you do as the Allied player when you're playing a scenario of that nature is keep your hexes away from German infantry units. Anywho, let's try our luck and see if Tripper has a Panzerfaust. Needs a 1. No. All right. Let's say for the sake of this example, we hold on. Let's say we got a Panzerfaust, and we look at the range, basic to hit. So 1, 2, 3. So this is 6 or less, and Tripper can apply his leadership DRM for 7 or less. All right. Let's say we got our Panzerfaust. 7 or less to hit. Hit. And now our basic to kill number is 16 minus 11. 16 minus 11 for the armor. Doesn't matter whether it's a hull or a turret because the armor is the same. 5 or less. Let's roll on the to kill. Nope. So much for that. So basically, wait a second. How did I get a 2 kill? The Panzerfaust equivalent, basic equivalent, is a 31 2 kill. 2 kill is 31. This guy, 31 minus 11, was anything but a dud. 31 minus 11 is 20. Half of 20 is 10. So this guy's a burning wreck. What am I talking about? Burn. Now, checking my chapter C charts, PF 2 kill. I've been sleeping. I'm tired. Yeah, 31. That's almost anything but a 12, dude. Burning. And then subsequently, what's going to happen? You know, everything here around it is going to start burning. Got a wreck blaze in burnable terrain. I think Tripper did an excellent job. Anywho, that's my video for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll have an interesting video next week as well. I'm working on it. I hope it doesn't get copyright protected. I tend to avoid copyright images, but typically when you want to compare something that exists to something fictitious that is in the game, it is what it is. And what you see in the background is my ebook. Excellent excellent tool to have, because I sometimes use both. but and I did a pretty lousy job at protecting my actual charts that I got with doing battalions with plastic protector. I'm really disappointed in that. But it should work. Yeah, so that's the video for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you did enjoy it, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. Let's keep it real. Let's enjoy the game, be kind, and keep rolling low. I did that well without mixing up my tongue. See you next week, guys. George, over and out.